What's happening, folks? Back with another reaction, back with some more Morrissey, and more from his 1988 solo album, Viva Hate. And the next tune is The Ordinary Boys. I'm intrigued by the title, the idea that the distinguishing trait or characteristic of a group of young men would be their averageness, their generic status, or perhaps here ordinary is being used as a synonym for boring, people who are sort of small-minded, small-lived. It could be, though, ironic. Sometimes big guys are called tiny, so it could be that a group of young guys who see themselves as nonconformist or they do things differently, they might call themselves the ordinary boys with, a bit of cheek and irony, but I would expect it to be more straightforward in terms of this being a critical assessment of, maybe the majority of people and, set apart from others. Because indeed, if everyone is like a certain way, then it's not so much ordinary as it is, the state of being. There's no point of distinction, or there's no difference to mark what is ordinary or average. So either way, we'll see if any of that is relevant. This is Morrissey. The tune is The Ordinary Boys, and it's from the 1988 album Viva Hate. That's what violins sound like if you pluck them. Like a slow boil, smooth, a bit jazzy. I don't think the jazzy atmosphere was overly strong, but it did have this kind of smooth and light, jazzy, like singer-songwriter type of feel. It's interesting though, like it did seem more or less in the direction I thought it might be heading, which is to say it sounds like he and this other person, because again people have mentioned that this album may relate to themes about the Smiths and you know, their journey and eventual breakup. It makes me wonder, as I was listening, like, is this about Johnny Marr? I know they were, you know, like good friends early on, and it's part of where the Smiths came from. So yeah, I wonder if it was about him. But either way, it sounds like the narrator has found another person who he feels a kinship with, because he feels like, unlike everybody else, he's sort of, again, small-minded, living in this small town, don't really have ambitions to do or like engage with anything that's outside of the life that, you know, their father lived and their grandfather lived, and that's already been laid out for them, and that they, you know, have expectations about, and so on. These small-minded fools, you know, they're just all this, you know, gray tapestry of this place that he lives. But then there's this diamond in the rough, this person who doesn't seem like that, this person who is interesting and maybe does have, you know, emotional nuance and depth beyond what all these other ordinary boys and girls, and again, there were shots at ordinary girls as well, like, you know, supermarket clones who, you know, are unnecessarily cruel to people and seem to think it's clever to be like that. So it's interesting, like, I think there's withering assessments happening in a number of directions in the tune, but as I also, like, maybe suspected, like, it's set apart against this other, like, singular person who clearly means a lot to the narrator or protagonist of the song. But it is interesting because it's like, it's past tense, like, you were so different. So it's looking back, which again is part of maybe why I think it might fit into what people had mentioned, that this album explores through the lyrics, you know, aspects of the Smiths and their journey and eventual breakup. So yeah, let me know if there's anything to that. Let me know what you think about the sonics. I enjoyed it. Like, his vocal work here was interesting. He did some things that, like, were less like typical Morrissey, like that I've come to expect with his vocals, where he can, you know, float and glide and do those sort of, you know, like a leaf on the air going up. But here he had some, like, even more, like, what's, like, if I use the word eccentric, it might sound like that's like a critique. It really wasn't. It just, he went into a more like atypical place with his voice in a couple spots, so I enjoyed that. There was, like, the one early on, it sort of surprised me, because it was like, whoa, like, I thought he was just going to glide into the next measure the way he often does, but he, like, really sort of, like, tweaked it upward. So yeah, curious to hear, you know, if that's part of what he begins to do more regularly, or if it's, you know, more specific to this tune, or at least... Hello again. So yeah, the very end of this one got cut off, as I found out, so just to sum things up, I was saying I'm looking forward to not only progressing through this album, but seeing how his own music over the course of multiple albums may evolve or change, and perhaps his vocal work being part of that, where he, you know, adds new types of delivery, as well as eccentric vocalizations and so on. So looking forward to it. Do let me know what you think. I'll see you next time. Peace.